Yeah, big time, man.
West Cork Beard Company make beard oil and beard balm for a strong, healthy, great-looking beard. Handmade from all natural ingredients in Clonakilty, West Cork. Check out their YouTube channel for beard care tips and advice, or catch them online at westcorkbeardcompany.ie.
Good evening, boys and girls, and welcome to another episode of the Same Old Arsenal. Craig can't be with us tonight. He's been late, held up at work, so I'm your host for this evening, Dan Potts, and joining me, as always, is three absolute delights. First of all, we have Mr. Harry Simew. How are you, Harry?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. Been away for a couple of weeks, so glad to be back. Looking forward to getting stuck in.
Absolutely, mate. And Lee Judges is back. He's looking rather cold, man. Is he not got the heating on or nothing? Judges, what's going on?
Nah, I ain't got no. Can't afford it these days, mate. I tell you, like, you know, so I've got the might put the fire on in a little while, but yeah. So, but I'm all right. I'm all right. I won at golf again today, so I'm quite pleased. Quite pleased. Beat Steve and James, so quite
Hold
pleased.
on, he can't afford the heating, but he can go and play golf.
I'll play a round of golf. Unbelievable, isn't it? Unbelievable, isn't it? Oh, do you know what that is, Judge? He's playing golf. It means you're getting old, son. Come on, what's going on?
Well, I think so, like, but I just played 2 holes while the intro was on as well, like, you know what I mean?
quick hole in one though, but I mean, it must be good, Judge. Quick hole in one for both, you know. Absolutely. And last but not least, well, we have got Mark joining us, but yet again, it's another name. So, Mark, please explain this one, mate.
Well, no, all the advertising said Craig, so I thought I'd come on as Craig, and as we all know, he's the chairman of the Can't Play on Pitch Society, or often known as the Goalkeepers Union. So,
I'll tell you, he ain't come on it today, Mark, because we've rattled his cage. I tell you, like, you know what I mean?
do you know what? I noticed it was getting a bit feisty in the group chat earlier. So, what I want to say first off the bat. How shocking was Leno? No, I'm only joking.
Well, we'll get into it. We will get into that 100%. But I'm going to start with you tonight, Harry.
Quickly, Potsy, 1 second.
Go on, Harry. Go on.
Chelsea have just taken a lead. Timo Werner at the
top.
Chelsea. Goal as well.
The only time I'll support Chelsea for the next 2 games.
Absolutely.
2 games a season. 2 games a season, Chelsea. Bosh.
Do you know what? You're right. And listen, this
will have to be 3, Lee. This is a cup game.
3 times.
No, you've got to be laughing at that if Spurs are losing. But long way to go, I believe. Long way to go. Harry, we'll start with you, man. Craig named this men versus boys, and I weren't too sure if I liked the name of that or not. Personally.
Come on, Harry.
So
step up.
Harry, is that fair? Is it unfair? What did you make of Arsenal against, let's be honest, a very, 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 very good side?
I think it's a little bit unfair because I feel like, you know, what Arsenal fan thought that we were going to go to Anfield, like right-minded Arsenal fan, thought that we were going to go to Anfield and blow them off the park. It was never going to happen, was it? If we were going to get all 3 points, it was going to be similar to the way we'd done it. Yes, exactly. Smash and grab is the right term. We went there. We clearly had a plan, which was to try and absorb pressure, to play out from the back, to try and suck them in like we've done in some of the big games lately. We've seen again, even though at times it puts us under pressure, but it's where our goal came from again last night. So there's clearly some benefit to doing that. The thing is, you're not always going to play against sides that press as aggressively as Liverpool do. You know, they're unbelievable the way they do it. And for me, when I watched the game, there were a couple of little bits and pieces I was a bit unsure about. And you know, a few players didn't perform as well as they can. And I think Judge tweeted this out earlier. Unless every single man played a blinder last night, we weren't going to win the game. It was as simple as that. And that didn't happen. But when was the last time Arsenal went to Anfield in the Premier League and stayed in the game until the 88th minute? You can't remember it. So there's clearly some progress there. And from that, we should take some encouragement. Look, Obviously, it's disappointing when you lose the game. There were other factors as well. I personally thought Sadio Mane should have been shown a red card early on,
100%.
and he goes on to score the equaliser, which has a massive impact. But the most telling thing for me, and Dan, you know Grizz, he was on the show the other night. I was with Grizz earlier on 90 Min, and we were talking about the game. And Grizz was really talking up Liverpool's performance. Jurgen Klopp was really talking up Liverpool's performance. So Liverpool felt that they had to be at, and they were, at their very, very best to beat that Arsenal side last night. And that tells you all you need to know about how much we're progressing under Mikel Arteta. Imagine when we get the right players in and we, then you can start judging this guy. But there's clear progress. Arsenal went to Anfield. Yeah, we got beat, but I wasn't disgraced. I wasn't ashamed, and I'm pleased with that.
Yeah, I've listened spot on, mate. Absolutely. I loved Arteta afterwards, and I loved Klopp afterwards as well. I thought it was a real good couple of interviews there. But Lee, the last time Liverpool have lost at Anfield was April 2017. So men versus boys. Is that a little bit harsh?
Too right he is. I can't believe it. I've had a go at Craig, and that's why he's not here today. He's sulked. So it's as simple as that. Listen, I look at it like this, and this is how I see it. There was no complacency in that Liverpool performance yesterday because they knew they had to be up for it. I think there was a little bit of complacency in the game against Leeds, but they weren't. I think Klopp said to them, look, if you were complacent against Arsenal, this is what can happen. They had a little gentle reminder what could happen in the league game when they wasn't quite at it at the Emirates. And they also got a little gentle reminder what could happen like in the Community Shield. So for me, that Jurgen Klopp would have reminded them of that and gone from there. Now, everybody's going mad, right, about the way we played, the way we set up and all that and everything like that, right? We played exactly the same formation and tactics against Manchester City. We played exactly the same way against Chelsea. And we played exactly the same way against Liverpool at the Emirates and also in the Community Shield. And I have to say this, that he played the back four or back five, or whatever way you want to look at it, was the same as it was in those games. And that's why I think he left Gabriel out of this one, and went with what he knew. But as I said in the tweet earlier on, when we played in that FA Cup final, semi-final, and the game against Liverpool, Maitland-Niles was we was even talking about it, Dan. Do you remember when I was coming home from the Box Park at Wembley? We could have picked 8 or 9 man of the matches.
Yeah, in
those games, you couldn't yesterday. It was like the other way round. You look through the whole team. Leno. I'm not going to go too much into Leno, if I'll be honest. But at the end of the day, he is not at the same level as Martinez was last season. That's a fact. That is a fact. Because what I see with Martinez last season was not making mistakes and kicking and all that. I had four heart attacks and I had to have the ambulance man round when he got the ball yesterday when he was kicking it. Like one of them, I don't know. I still. It was a net's cock away from going on the line. So anyway, that's by the by. Bellerin shocking yesterday, poor performance. Holding, poor performance. David Luiz was absolutely outstanding in the cup final semi-final. Wasn't that great yesterday? Tierney got roasted a few times yesterday, which has not happened. Maybe because he wasn't fit. Then you look into the midfield. Xhaka, I think, as much as we all love Xhaka on this show, as we all love it, it just got his mobility against the top class was shown yesterday. It was shown. Against the top 6 Europa League and everything like that. But the real top of the game, like Liverpool are. Listen, Liverpool are champions for a reason. They are European champions the year before for a reason. They're a good side. And I felt that he got a little bit found out. I'm going to say this. I thought El Neni done okay yesterday. You know what I mean? So I thought El Neni done okay yesterday. But, and what have we always said? We've got to be ruthless at the back and we've got to be ruthless at the front. Now, I'm telling you, no one would have moaned. Everybody would have turned around and said it would have been a masterclass if Lacazette would have scored that 2 and made that 2-2. If he'd have made it 2-2, we could have gone on and nicked it 3-2. Who knows? but we didn't. You know, he should have. He would have buried that. Now, when it comes to the cup final and the semi-final, Lacazette had the same amount of chances as Aubameyang, but Aubameyang put them away. If you remember rightly, Aubameyang missed a very good chance against Man City, and he missed a good chance against Chelsea. But the next two, bang, bang. Lacazette, not quite the same. You have to look at Willian. You know, I thought he was poor last night. People are turning around and saying, "Oh, he was great" and all that. And I think to myself, well, there's agendas for players and there's agendas against players, you know. And I felt that
Yeah.
the one player come on and was outstanding was Danny Ceballos, and I have to say, Pepe, you know, absolute disgrace, absolute disgrace. Let the whole club down yesterday, pulling out of tackles, strolling around. When you get substitutes on, you want to see him doing what Ceballos was doing. And the fact of the matter is, Danny Ceballos came on there doing this, going through walls, putting his body on the line. He's a lone player. And then I watch our record signing do what I was doing there. So that was a bad thing there. But I totally agree with Harry. And I'm not going to go harping on about it neither. In this day and age of football, it's a sending off, right? I would love to have seen what Xhaka do that. And I'd imagine he'd have got booked and the VAR would have come down on that referee. Get him off. Get him off. You know what I mean? Because at this day and age, he's looked at the man, he's not gone for the ball, and he's come across and elbowed him. Like, it's dangerous play. Dangerous play, by the way, now, ladies and gentlemen, is a sending off. End of rant.
Fair play. I want to come on to some incidents in a minute. I want to talk about Leno. I want to talk about the Mane. I want to talk about the referee, because there was a couple of decisions there I couldn't quite make out for the life of me. But Mark, I've said to the boys, I said to you guys, I said to a lot of people that we were kind of outclassed. And a lot of people shot me down for saying that. And the reason I said it is because what Lee's just gone on about, there was a lot of weak links out there, and they didn't have many weak links. They got two brilliant wingers in Mane and Salah. They've got two of the best fullbacks that I've seen in Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Robertson makes a mistake, and what does he do? He goes up the other end and scores and makes up for it. Their midfield works so much harder than us. They've got athleticism. Do we have to sometimes hold our hands up, mate, and just say, we move on? They're the better team. We ain't ready and they are. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. What else, like Harry said, what was we expecting? You know, I know Arsenal would go out there and win 2-1. Could do. Listen, if Lacazette puts his chance away, 2-1, to make it 2-2, different game, isn't it? I disagree with Lee. I think the front three work their socks off, and that gives me tremendous positivity about the future and how much the superstars at this club, which Aubameyang, Willian, Lacazette, you know, they're our superstars. They're what the rest of the league wants, is a forward line like that can get you goals, create goals, been there, done it, won it. You know, those front three, the effort they put in yesterday is second to none. You know, still chasing, they're still working hard in the 80th minute, keeping us in the game, keeping us honest, keeping us decent. You know, teams will go up there, make no bones about it. If Fulham was up there last night, they'd have got double figures in goals, Liverpool. You know, they were at the races, spot on. You know, let's not kid ourselves. Let's be truthful. When we beat them in the league, they were on the beach, sipping champagne, celebrating the league. When we played in the Community Shield, they'd had about a week off, or they'd been back about a week or something. You know, 3 league games, 3 wins tells you everything you need to know about this football club. They are purring like a Rolls Royce. They are in full top speed. They are Mercedes. They are the best team in the world, in my opinion. And we're going to have to go some to catch them. But that's the challenge, isn't it? That's why we all love this game. That's why we're in this game. And that's why, listen, I've texted a few of my pals today, Liverpool fans, who are a lot more humble these days after the 30 years of hurt or the 30 years of in not winning. You know, they're a lot more honest and a lot more decent in their opinions. When I was a kid, they used to be horrible. You know, they arrogant so-and-so. It's a bit like Man United in the late 90s, early 90s. You know, their fans thought they were going to win forever. But Liverpool have had that mortality shown to them about the dark years, you know, and so they know. And what they say to me is, you know, how good is your club set up now? You know, and they say to me, in Arteta, you've got a coach there. You know, the way we're hard to beat, and that's what we've asked, isn't it? All these years we've asked that we be hard to beat, and that we're not going to get steamrolled. 8-2. All the embarrassments are going away from home against the Big Six. We still haven't won against the Big Six away from home since City and whenever the hell it was. We look now like we could, but let's be honest, it ain't going to happen at Anfield, is it? Do you know what I mean? It might happen at Stamford Bridge. It might happen at Old Trafford. It might happen at the Etihad this year because they look like their team in transition now. But it wasn't going to happen at Anfield. But I mean, Liverpool, they could quite easily go unbeaten this season. They really could.
The thing is as well, sorry, Dan, there was a
No, go on,
couple
Harry.
of bits as well. When Mikel Arteta first came into the job, obviously he played Liverpool at the Emirates Stadium in the league. He beat them. But there was that element of surprise, wasn't it? New Arsenal coach, don't really know what he's going to bring to the table in terms of his tactics. And then in the Community Shield again, those tactics work. You're not going to outsmart Jurgen Klopp 3 times. That's the honest thing, isn't it? You're not going to get your way over him 3 times without him making some adaptations. And there were differences to Liverpool, the way Liverpool approached it yesterday, that made our game less effective. And you have to give him credit for that as well. You know, if you remember some of the previous games, we've seen Lacazette drop into this like false 9 position and put himself on the defensive midfielder to give us that extra body. He didn't do that last night. He didn't drop onto Fabinho. And then all of a sudden you have a situation where Liverpool coming forward and you've got Fabinho, Wijnaldum and Keita for Xhaka and El Neni to deal with. It becomes a 3-on-2. And having that spare man in Keita, it was always Keita last night. He kept drifting to the right, drifting to the left, and he caused us absolute chaos. Liverpool have worked out what our game was, and they nullified it to an extent yesterday as well. And, you know, that's what happens at the top level. Coaches make tweaks, coaches change things, and coaches outdo each other. Arteta's had 2 over him so far, I would say. It was, it was a matter of time before Klopp worked it out.
Yeah, I think so. And I want to go on to the midfield, and there's a couple of super chats which are a nice segue towards that. Andrew Bursky said, fantastic podcast. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for your kind donation. As always, we desperately need improvements in the midfield because we are very average in the middle. And there is another live super chat here as well, if I can find it, or has it disappeared? No, there it is, from Bill. Good old Bill, another good listener. Thank you very much for your kind donation.
Whoa.
There's still some of Wenger's weak mentality. Oh, all round, mate. All round.
Yeah, all round.
There's still some of Wenger's weak mentality still around in the squad. Totally agree. Big week for the club in regards to transfers. Great podcast. Harry, we'll stay with you on this one because for me, I know you're a massive Granit Xhaka fan, mate. I know you don't mind Mohamed El Neni. I thought Xhaka got destroyed yesterday, mate. I really did. I think that he was just beaten in midfield because of his lack of athleticism. Now, he came off, and rightly so. Arteta was ruthless and decided to bring him off. But do we think that is an issue in midfield there? And is that kind of showing that against Fulham it's okay, but against Liverpool they just get shown up, and we need some extra quality in there? And is that why Partey and Aouar are linked?
Yeah, I mean, I've defended Xhaka because Xhaka, for me, is one of the best that we have. It doesn't mean that I think he's the best out there. And we saw the different levels yesterday, didn't we? He played against a world-class team, and he got caught out. Same with El Neni. I think El Neni is a useful player to have around the squad for the Carabao Cup, for the FA Cup, for the Europa League. You know, more often than not, you can get to the knockout stages of the Europa League field in a reserve side. So why not make use of those players in those games, in those competitions? But you see when it comes to the very, very top level that they just got caught out. I felt like yesterday was, you know, we can sit here and we can say that they were really bad, but I've spoken about it already. Liverpool's press is incredible. I felt like when Arsenal were playing out from the back yesterday as well, the accuracy in the passes wasn't there. And it needs to be there because it's such a high-risk way of playing. And you saw a couple of times Holding played balls into the middle of the park without knowing what was going on around him. David Luiz played a few silly ones to the edge of the box. Tierney with a few long balls with no aim whatsoever just to get rid of it. And I think the game bypassed the midfield a little bit yesterday. I'm not defending him. I'm not sticking up for him. I do think that we need to bring players in, and we need players of a higher standard. I don't think there's any question about that. But I don't, you know, a lot of people are saying that they're the reason we lost the game yesterday. For me, Mikel Arteta went that way by leaving Dani Ceballos out. He set the tone of what he wanted from his midfield before the game started. By picking El Neni and Xhaka, it was clear that he wanted to try and plug holes, to try and sit deep, and the playing out from the back was designed to try and get joy in the wide areas, like we have done against Liverpool in the past. Expose Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, who love to come forward. That was the plan. You know,
Do you think Arteta got it tactically wrong then, Harry? Do you think he actually got it wrong?
I do think he got it slightly wrong, yeah. I do. But I'm not going to sit here and crucify him for it because, you know, it's worked previously, so that's why he did it. But I do think that, like I said, I think that Klopp was a lot more aware of it, obviously, having played us a couple of times in quick succession, and we didn't adapt, and we paid the price for it. I can understand why, going into that game, he might have looked at the team and gone, I think El Neni's the right option here for that extra bit of protection, but it took away too much in terms of technical ability and in terms of our ability to progress the ball.
I want to talk about the officials because, in my opinion, this weekend, the officials and the rules and the VAR and the handball, it's completely ruining the game. Let's start with Mane. Lee judges. Sadio Mane elbows Kieran Tierney in the face. And if that is David Luiz or Granit Xhaka, in my opinion, they're off. So why is it the case that it's okay for Mane to do it, but it's not okay for other players, not just Arsenal players, to get away with it? How does it work in your eyes? Because I'm totally confused with some of the rules now.
Because it's opinions, and opinions can be swayed by who you're with and whatever as a player, you know, as a referee. And I do believe that. Listen, I think maybe Granit Xhaka or David Luiz might have got away with it on the fact that it was only 3 minutes old. I think that is the key. I think if that was 20, 25 minutes gone, I think he would have gone. I think it was because it was so early that is I think was the thing that saved him, not because of he plays for Liverpool or because it's Mane. You know, I do believe that. I don't think it's anything to. I just think at the end of the day, it was down to the last. It was just because it was so early. But this is the trouble with VAR. VAR is not fact. It is still an opinion of a referee. It's still an opinion of what that referee thinks at the time, whether it be someone in the stand or actually on the pitch. Now, you're going to get a different opinion from people. Some people will say, but probably it was right to be a booking and whatever. Now, if Granit Xhaka would have done that and got away with a booking, probably we'd be all saying, oh, yeah, do you know what? I think it was a booking. It was borderline either way. Now, I think, right, if they'd have sent him off, I don't think in the studios and the experts would have disagreed with it. And I don't think by booking him, anybody disagreed with it as well. It was touch and go. I've watched it a few times. From one angle, it looks bad, and on the other angle, it doesn't look so bad. You know, so interpret it as it is. But I think in the current climate and the way the game's played now, he is endangering an opponent there, and that is a sending off, in my opinion. And I think that he should have been sent off for it. You know, I think that the handball, I think, was handball again. You know, it's an opinion whether it hit his arm or not. And I think that's so. If the referee feels it didn't hit his arm, then it's not a penalty. Sorry, it's not a goal, or a goal, whatever way you want to look at it. For me, I felt that when I see it, I thought, well, it's hit his arm. It's not a penalty. Sorry, it's not a goal, and we lose 2-1 instead of 3-1. I felt that's the thing that got me a little bit last night, Dan. That we lost 3-1 instead of 2-1. I felt that I could have just swallowed it a little bit more if it was a 2-1 night, you know. So listen, if you throw your forearm, I've just seen someone forearm or elbow, it's still a sending off, you know. If you slap someone, you still get sent off. If you punch him, you know what I mean. You're still going in like that with intent, and I think that's the thing that is there. I remember playing once, right? When I was playing football, I got sent off for elbowing somebody, and I said, "Ref, I didn't do it deliberately. What's going on?" You know, and I argued the fact. The referee turned around to me and said, "Why I sent you off is because you looked at him first and then you hit him with the elbow." Now, I didn't mean to elbow him, right? But because you look up and whatever, Marnie done exactly the same thing. He looked in there and Bosch went, you know, and that's what I think. Like, I think it's a definite penalty, 100%. But you know, they've got away with one, haven't they? They've got away with one. I think because, as we said, it was so.
Fair enough. Just quickly going to go to Mark and Harry, and then back to Mark. Mark, Mane, yellow card, red card. What did you think?
If it happens in a pub, is he going to get thrown out? Yes. I'll text you straight away in the group chat. Red. Can't be doing things like that. Not in this day and age. You can't do
100%.
that. If it happens in the 63rd minute, it's going to get analysed. If it happens in the area, they're going to check it VAR. I think that's the only. Am I right in understanding the only reason it didn't get checked is because the referee didn't raise it as an issue?
I don't know. Did it?
Because
I don't understand. Yeah,
I think it would only get checked. I don't know the rules anymore.
No, it should be that the VAR should be looking at it, and the VAR should say.
But they only look at it like a handball. They only look at it if it's inside the area, not outside, don't they, Harry?
Because they can only check penalties, red cards, and mistaken identity. I think is it. Offside?
So why did they not check that then, Harry? That's what I don't get.
So that's the question. So red So I just think that is because it's the 3rd minute. I genuinely believe that.
Agreed.
I think it
got every. You know, do you remember when Dennis Bergkamp got sent off for the same sort of thing? I think it was against Sunderland.
That's
years ago.
Red or yellow, it didn't happen, and it's not right. And it makes a mockery of VAR. It's another mockery of VAR, like all these handball things. Now, listen, we on this podcast, you'll be surprised to know we don't like Tottenham, but you got to feel for Eric Dyer. You know what I mean? Like this VAR thing is an absolute farce. No, we don't feel for him because it was absolutely hilarious. It made my day. But what I'm saying is if it happens to us, we're happy.
100%. You know what I mean?
If that is handball, I mean, they did a thing on TalkSport the other day where they were saying, when did you know the game was dead? And he said, when the referee took the ball off a plinth before the game and stuff like that. Well, for me, if that is handball, if a defender can have his back to the ball and it can be headed at him from a yard away and hit the back of his arm and it's handball, that is when the game's dead, isn't it?
Yeah, but what annoys me about that, though, and I'll tell you what's annoyed me about the Eric Dyer one and Tottenham, right? I watched a joke of a decision, and actually I was watching the game between Crystal Palace and Everton, and when that happened, there was nowhere near as much controversy as that, and that was just as bad as decision.
Joe Ward, unbelievable.
Joe, I turned it off. I wasn't interested in the game after that. I was watching it as a neutral, and I thought, do you know what? I'm wasting my time watching this game.
It does. It makes you get like that, though, doesn't it? It does make you get like that. It does. Yeah.
But nothing was. It all went because of the Spurs thing. So, I understand that they've changed the rules after today, haven't they? It has been changed. So, it took like a big thing from Mourinho and Spurs to do it. I can guarantee if that Eric Dyer one didn't happen, it'll be forgotten now about what poor little Crystal Palace. You know what I mean? And this is
which was as bad, by the way. Which was as bad.
Totally as bad. You know what I mean? It was ridiculous. Ridiculous.
It is a shambles. VAR is a shambles. Let's leave it at that. Yeah. Mane on or off. It doesn't affect the result, does it? It doesn't affect the result, does it?
VAR, I always think it stands for very awful refereeing because that's all I can see it stands for, if I'm honest.
But do you know what, anyway, if he had been sent off after 3 minutes, it might have affected the game. You know what I mean?
True.
You know what I mean? You don't know. But I don't think we should go on about it like at the end of the day. The referee didn't give it. We're not making that as an excuse. We're not, we understand we didn't get it given and we was beaten by the better team. But
Liverpool at Anfield was not where we were looking for points, was it? Let's, you know what I mean? No. So we just move on.
Absolutely. Harry, let's go on to the kind of controversy of some of the stuff throughout the game because we've talked about Mane, we talked about the Jota handball. But moving on from that, kind of some of the individual areas, everyone get a little bit over the top with Leno, or did he deserve the criticism? Because this is a guy who's been, in my opinion, fairly consistent for the last 2 years at Arsenal. He's probably been arguably one of Arsenal's best players, along with Aubameyang. I think that's all pretty fair to say. He has kept us in games over the last couple of seasons. He's saved us points that we would have lost. And because we had Martinez, who, by the way, would not be in number one if it wasn't for Leno getting injured, I think that's fair to say. Because we've had him for 10 games and he's been fantastic, it's so much pressure on Leno now and eyes of a hawk on everything that he does. Or are we fair to criticise him?
I think it's fair to criticise him, but it's also important to remember the backstory as to how Martinez got into the number one spot in the first place, which you're right to mention. For me, with Bernd Leno, the first thing I'll say is he's an excellent shot stopper. A better shot stopper than Martinez for me. If someone's going to have a crack from the edge of the box, I would rather have Leno in there to stop it than I would Martinez, because I think he's more agile. I just think he's a better shot stopper. But there are other elements to being a goalkeeper that are really, really important, and there's some of them that Leno lacks. When we first signed Leno, I thought my understanding of the goalkeeper we were bringing in was someone who was very comfortable with the ball at his feet and was able to help us progress play out from the back. I don't see that with Leno. I see Leno give away stupid balls. There was a couple of incidents last night where he tried to play, I remember one in particular, out to Tierney on the left, who had pulled right out to the touchline. It was a mile over his head, just putting pressure on us. My biggest problem with Bernd Leno is the fact that he does not dominate his 6-yard box. Now, I'm not asking for a throwback to an old goalkeeper who's going to come out to the penalty spot and catch a corner. You know, that you don't really see that from goalkeepers that have come from the continent anymore. But your 6-yard box, you got to be in control of that as a goalkeeper. And he's never in control of that. Every time he comes to catch the ball, I fear he's going to drop it. He doesn't have that physical presence where he moves people out of the way, where he comes like a steam train and you think, shit, I'm going to get out of his way, like Martinez does, like Lehmann had. He just doesn't fill me with confidence. And, you know, we're just going to have to accept that Leno is the way he is, and he's got his shortcomings. Martinez, you know, you don't know how Martinez was going to get on over the course of a whole season as well. And that's important to note. You know, Martinez, he was praised yesterday for keeping another clean sheet for Villa. But he made a terrible mistake that Fulham scored a goal from, and it was chalked off by VAR. But, you know, over the course of a whole season, you will see the real Martinez. I'm not saying he's not a good goalkeeper, but there's a reason that the club were adamant that Leno was going to stay as the number one. So, you know, there are problems, there are shortcomings, but I don't know, we can't do anything about it now.
Well, I certainly don't think a goalkeeper is a concern for us right now. It's not a position we need to go and replace and get, in my opinion. Mark, do we back Leno or do we look to replace him? Because as far as I'm concerned, he's number one and he's staying.
Well, as chairman of the Can't Play on Pitch Union, I'll back our goalkeeper. I'll back him. Listen, last season, whatever, he was player of the season. You know, like Harry's right. You know, someone comes in and has a good game for 5 minutes. Don't make him think. He was a good goalkeeper, and I'm glad he done well, and I'm glad he's got a move, and I'm glad he's got a number one jersey at a club that nearly went down last year. You know, it's levels, isn't it? And in Leno, we think we've got someone who potentially can go on and on and on. You know what I mean? And get to another level. He can learn. He can grow as a man, and he can get more dominant in his area. You know, once he comes of age and stuff like that. I know we was all proper nervous of him with the ball at his feet yesterday, but I don't see too much wrong with him. Like, can you imagine? Can you remember? This is the problem with football. We've all got short memories, haven't we? Remember what we was like when they used to roll them balls back to Petr Cech? Like he used to fall over the ball. You know what I mean? He was one of the best goalkeepers the Premier League's ever seen. Not in the modern way. Not the modern way coaches ask people to play. Leno, head and shoulders better goalkeeper than Petr Cech at this system, at the ball with his feet. You know what I mean? He would just get behind the lad. You know what I mean? It could be worse. You know, you could have paid £72 million for a kipper.
This is very true. Lee, final word on Leno, because I know that you're quite passionate about this. You thought he had a poor game, and you think about a poor couple of games against West Ham and Liverpool. So what do you make of that, mate?
Yeah, look, I'm going to stick up for Leno to a certain degree. I still don't think he's been out for 2 months or 3 months. So he's a little bit rusty. I think that's first things first. I totally agree with what Harry said. He's a great shot stopper. Made a great save from Marnie yesterday, but it is the crossing, and I just think that the line now is looked a little bit more jittery with him there, and I feel a little bit more confident when Martinez was there. In the back four, I see jittery moments that I didn't see under when Martinez was there, and I feel that I don't think this is. Do you want my honest opinion? I don't think it's come down to a footballing decision. I just think that Arsenal needed the money. They couldn't afford to have two goalkeepers, one of 20 million, one of 40 million, sitting on the bench. And I do believe that it was easier to sell Martinez than it was to sign Leno. To sell Leno. Leno would have been a £40 million, and plus double his wages. What Aston Villa could do is, we can spend 20 million and up Martinez's wages and get somebody like that. So I feel that was the better. That's why that deal was done. Listen, the third goal comes about because I think that Leno's not positive enough in his calling. Luiz gives a bad header. Those things weren't happening when Martinez was there, because I think, as we've all said, Martinez would have come out, claimed that. Luiz would have got out of the way, and if not, he'd have got spanked, and we go from there. There is a little bit of inconsistencies on things like that from Leno, but I do agree that, listen, it's done now. We can't go back on it. We can't turn around and say, do you know what, we've made a boo-boo here, Aston Villa, we're going to bring him back. We've got to back him now. The decision's done. I do think Leno will get better as the weeks go on and get, because I remember at Spurs he made a couple of wonder saves that kept us in the
double
game.
Double save, unbelievable.
Yeah. So we're not questioning him as a goalkeeper, but and I certainly wasn't questioning him. And we know people turn around and say, "Oh yeah, but he was our second player of the year last season and all that." But what has happened is that Martinez has come in and highlighted the weaknesses that Leno's got, and that's a fact, because we've seen that. But what Leno's got to do is work through them and make sure that these mistakes don't happen. The defence does look a little bit more jittery when he's in the side than Martinez. You can't deny that, and I don't think you can deny that. But I don't agree with what's going on at the moment. The first goal, I looked on Twitter at half time, and people were going mad. Oh, he should have saved that. He should have made more of it and all that. When the actual goal went in, I never even thought it was Leno's fault. When looking back on it, I think, well, yeah, maybe he could have. But, that's what I'm saying. People are nitpicking to find a fault, because I didn't really see a fault there. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he made a couple of bad kicks, what Harry said, and the Nats cock one and all that, But at the end of the day, it didn't result in a goal, did it? It didn't result in a goal. So I do think that people are nitpicking. Look, he's our goalkeeper. We can't go back. We've got to get behind him and support him, and let's just hope, that he becomes good.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Harry, let's come to you. We're going to move on to our right-hand side. I actually personally thought our left-hand side yesterday in the first half particularly had some problems. I didn't think that Maitland-Niles and Tierney were working too well, and Aubameyang was invisible. But we've got a super chat here. Thanks for your kind donation. Guys, you see a trouble on our right-hand side of defence, and Bellerin, I thought last night, was pretty poor. Not only was he poor in his positioning and his lack of understanding of how to work with holding, but the guy took 2 foul throw-ins. I mean, that is poor for a professional footballer, in my opinion. We saw Pepe take 2 horrendously bad corners when he came on. Our right-hand side, I agree with Lee. I personally thought Willian was invisible, as was Aubameyang, until the 93rd minute when we finally got him in with a ball over the top. But our right-hand side, left-hand side, to me, you've got Tierney, you've got Maitland-Niles, you've got Sakpi, you've got Martinelli, you've got Aubameyang. It's looking good. But right, I think we're quite weak, Harry, personally.
Yeah, it's not anything new. I think the right side has always been a bit of a weaker side. I feel like Mikel Arteta identified that when he first came into the club, and you can tell that by the way he focuses so much of our play down the left. I know people will say it's because Aubameyang's out there, but it's clear that Arsenal prefer to go down the left-hand side when they're attacking, and you feel normally more comfortable when they're defending on that side as well. just touching on last night where you said that the left side looked, Maitland-Niles and Tierney didn't work as well together. They didn't. But that comes back to that point I made earlier about Naby Keita going and joining in out there. Alexander-Arnold getting forward, Salah drifting infield. It was a really difficult thing to deal with. And that's why I feel they probably looked a little bit worse than normal. But the right side is a strange one because there are games lately where I look at Hector Bellerin and I think you're starting to look like the old Hector Bellerin again. And you think, yeah, you know what? He's picked up the ball. He's carried the ball forward. He's defended pretty well. And then you see moments where he just looks completely off the boil again. And stupid things like foul throws. I mean, you've done it once. You're a muppet for doing it once. We're talking about Premier League level, not Sunday League. And then you do it again. And then Willian, anonymous completely, you're right. Pepe comes on. I didn't think Pepe was very good. The corners were a shambles. I like to think that maybe there was some plan in place to hit the near post area because we've been hearing a lot about this new set piece coach and, maybe there was a bit of a strategy there. I like to think, but if not, then they're inexcusable. Every player that comes to Arsenal and pulls on that shirt loses the ability to beat the first man on a corner instantly. It's a curse. I don't know what it is.
Interesting on the right-hand side, though, Mark, isn't it? Because Bellerin has been kind of linked with a little rumour that he may go. It looks at the moment that he's going to be staying. For me, I've said it for weeks and weeks and weeks. Pepe needs to be playing more centrally, in my opinion. It does not work from on that right-hand side. I don't think he works with Bellerin well at all. And I don't actually think that he's a winger because it's so predictable, him coming in on that left foot. And I thought he was terrible when he came on. He was just not really bothered, if I'm honest with you. I mean, that may be an attitude thing, but in terms of his quality, I think we need to find a system to get him playing more centrally because I think there's bags of talent with this kid. I just think he needs to be let loose. But this right-hand side looks quite kind of lopsided as far as I'm concerned when everybody's fit. I just wonder if the best right-hand side is Maitland-Niles and Willian as opposed to Bellerin and Pepe. Mark, what's your thinking of that?
Yeah, I'd go with that all day long. I make no secret of the fact I think Bellerin's done. He's not going to get any better now. We've had these best years. If we can cash in, I absolutely would love to see that asset sold rather than an Ainsley Maitland-Niles. That would make more financial sense to me. But the problem is with this pandemic is that the Premier League are going to end up about £600 or £700 million down this calendar year, and the rest of the football world deficit. Liga, the Bundesliga, those clubs are not spending money. They're just not spending money, and Paris Saint-Germain have tightened up. No one's going anywhere for big dough anyway. So his options are very, very limited now if we're going to sell players. So yes, flicking Willian over to that right-hand side. Talking about Pepe, and you say that he came on and didn't look bothered. I think it's just, can you imagine how hard it must be for a substitute to come in on that game yesterday? Like, I was worn out watching the bloody thing. Like, can you imagine what it would be like to come on and try and get into that pace? How do you warm up to come on to that? Do you know what I mean? Liverpool are like racehorses, aren't they? And we do well to keep with them. And to come on cold and try and slip into a system whereby you're pressing and you know what I mean? And it must be incredibly hard. Now, I'm not making excuses because Ceballos come on and really turned the game on their head, got hold of it the ball by the horns. Fresh legs, that's what you expect. I think the lad has just lost the confidence, and we've got to do something with him, haven't we? We've got to put an arm around him because the football club have invested a huge amount of money. I'm not entirely sure that he was the football club's first choice. We've ended up with a lad that we're going to pay £72 million for because of the structured deal. If we could have got a structured deal for Wilf Zaha last year, we would have 100% signed a proven Premier League player, wouldn't we? But Palace were not having it last year. How annoying that we bought Pepe last year and not this, because this year we could have so definitely got a structured deal with Crystal Palace for Wilf. You know what I mean? So, but we are where we are. We can't turn back time. I'd be interested to ask the judge. He says we can't change what's been done. You know, Martinez is gone now. What if you could bring one football player back to the football club? Who would it be, Lee? That's what I would want to know. If you could turn back time and say, don't sell that lad, keep him. Who would it be? I'm interested.
Well, that's a tough question, right? You know, so I think probably Cesc Fabregas would probably be the one that I think we are over the sort of most modern time regretted us selling. I think that it didn't work out for him at Barcelona. I don't think I didn't really want him, did they? But at the time, and I just felt that he was so key to what we was doing as a football club at that moment in time. It was all about him, and he was a superb player for us as well. You know, I think one of the best, and I don't think we've ever quite got over that. If I'll be honest, people are saying Ox, Serge Gnabry, he could go on, you know, but you know. I totally agree with what Mark's saying there, you know, about things. It's a difficult one with the goalkeeper. I just think that it's such a role, isn't it? You know, that it's a pivotal position. And I think at the end of it, you know, I look at their goalkeeper yesterday, didn't do a lot, did he? But what he had to do, he saved. You know, we ain't picking the bones out of what he's had to do. So I think that... you know, Pepe for me, I just think that I think that Zaha was definitely the first choice. I really do, and hopefully we can get him in this transfer window. I'm still optimistic because I still feel that we need somebody like that. But I'm listen, Pepe's still young. I think that there's still something in the player. I watch him. And I think that's why I'm frustrated about him, because I see things and I just think, you know, I expect a little bit more, because I do think he is a good player. And by the way, he had a great game in the FA Cup final and games like that. And maybe his nose has been put out of joint a little bit, because, you know, he had played really well in those games. And then all of a sudden, Willian comes into the frame and sort of took his place. So, you know, the egos and whatever. So I don't quite understand why we got Willian. Is that to replace Pepe? I don't get that, you know. You know, will eventually Aubameyang go in the centre to allow maybe Willian and Pepe on the flank. So I think that may be a way to go, you know. But Lacazette scored 3 goals in 3 games, so
I like that though, Lee. You know, we've got the options there now. We can switch around. We've still got, you know, Saka. We've still got Martinelli to come back. Aubameyang, Lacazette, Willian, Pepe. We've still got, you know, some of the youngsters to come through it. And I think that's not really the kind of position that we need to be looking. But I go back to your point, Lee, about the Martinez thing. What frustrates us, I think, is that we weren't in a position in terms of ambition to say we can compete at the very top and have 2 fantastic goalkeepers. And then we're settled. And that was, I think, what's annoyed fans, is that we couldn't keep hold of both of them. So I totally get where you're coming from there. But let's... Go on, Harry. Go on.
I was just going to say that the thing with that is it's easy to say that the club, you know, they couldn't keep hold of both of them. But at the end of the day, if Martinez wants to be a number one, if he wants to play every week, what more can you do? If you can't guarantee him the playing time, you know, maybe playing in the Europa League and the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup just isn't enough for him. So.
And if they reinvest the money, that's the key, isn't it? And that's what Lee, that's what all of us as fans are saying. You know what I mean? They've cashed in on an asset which last year we'd have got £3 million for. Lee said it before. We've got 16 to 20 million pound for a lad who, you know, was thing. So. It's been on me. I've eaten all my chocolate, lad. I've eaten it's all gone. And you know, so we got £16 million. We want it invested. We want this lad,
exactly.
Leon, and we want Partey, and we want Zaha, and who else is available? Grealish.
We want to invest
Grealish.
it. We want investment. We do
Dele
indeed.
Alli. We want
Let's-
Dele Alli as well.
Oh God, no, I don't want him.
The thing is, we were
Let's
going
get
on about
into
it. We're getting on about the Grealish one. You know what I mean? There was 80 odd million, but this Awar deal looks like that's going up and up and up now, isn't it? So you know,
It isn't going to go to that. Isn't going to go
Listen,
to 80 like they want, though.
Leon's
55 million's a lot of money for a player that you know.
We'll have to get Jorginho from Chelsea instead.
Listen,
No.
Leon's chairman talks a lot. He's notorious
does.
for it. Every transfer, he comes out in the press. He tweets about it as well because he wants to have the limelight. And he says, "We're definitely not selling him. We're definitely not selling this guy. We're definitely not selling that guy." And then the deal gets done. Happened with Lacazette. Happened with Ndombele when Spurs signed him. Ignore everything that geezer says. They will accept between 40 and 50 mil, I think, and that deal will get done.
It will get done. Will get. I've been saying it for ages. Houssem Aouar will get done. He is an Arsenal player. Be excited. He's a great footballer.
Fergus is hammering you, Lee. He reckons you're cold there, but I thought it was just so you didn't get attacked by any spiders, wasn't it, Fergus? Is that why Lee's got that coat
Hornet.
on?
Hornet.
Hornet.
Oh yeah, he can sell. It's just a bit of fashion, isn't it? It's a bit of fashion.
It is a very nice tracksuit. It's a very nice tracksuit. Let's end it by some positives. We are going to talk about Aouar and Partey and some other transfer deals, but positives are Mikel Arteta. I know Harry tactically you thought he may have got it wrong, but I think if we were to get the right players in, we have got the right man, Harry. So we should be excited, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we should be. We should be because he's demonstrated that he can make the team a lot more competitive without having the good players there and the players that he needs. So if that's what he can do without them, then I hope to think that when he does get the tools in, that will be a lot stronger.
Absolutely. Lee Judges, with the right signings, we need to back this guy because we could get our Arsenal back if Arteta is backed. Am I right?
100%. 100%. Listen, we went with a team last night that got 8th in the league last season and run Liverpool to the 80 or 86th minute before they turned us over. This is a manager or a coach that's doing it with players that are not good enough, but he's still getting a tune out of them. You imagine if we would have gone up to Liverpool yesterday with Aouar in the side and Partey in the squad. You know what I mean? I would have been a lot more happy with that, like, you know. So for me, I'm going to still back the manager. I am getting frustrated by looking at the transfer window. I see Leicester has gone and spent 40-50 million pound on a teenager today. You know, an Arsenal, but they've had 1 year in the Champions League, so I suppose that's the key to that, is it? You know, so so I'm getting frustrated, but I do think that I think that this is how I see it. I think with the Aouar deal, I think they're trying to get that in instalments, trying to get it a little bit there so they can chuck all the cash at the party one. So that's what I think. So let's get excited.
Let's get excited. I'm going to go back on one comment and then I'm going to end with one question. This is one of the funniest clips you'll ever see on a podcast. Please go and watch Guns and Yellow Ribbon's latest podcast. Mr. Fergus Keating himself getting attacked by a drone-sized hornet. Live on air.
I don't think he was really getting
Actually, it was a fly.
Was it?
It was a fly. I kept winding up saying it was a fly. But it is absolute genius and classic comedy. And, of course, a very good podcast. But it was absolute genius and comedy genius. So please go and watch that. Last of all, we're going to finish with this question. Let's come to you first, Mark. Before we wrap up, do you think we can get both Thomas Partey and Houssem Aouar?
We need something to go out. We need some outgoings, so it's going to be a busy few days. But yes, because they both want to come and play for us. That's what all the signals are saying. So it hugely depends on Torreira, and I think that is inevitable that he will go. But it's whether or not we get money. So it's all about outgoings. And our squad is too big, man. You know what I mean? So we've got to have some outgoings because our wage bill's through the roof. So they can't just be nobody's leaving the club. You know what I mean? We've got to get Torreira's, maybe Bellerin's. We've got to get a few. Reece Nelson potentially will go out on loan with a fee attached to that. You know what I mean? Someone like West Ham might give us a couple of quid to have him on loan or something like that. We've got to get some of these centre backs fit. You know, if someone Saliba or Mustafi can prove their fitness in the next week or two, we might be able to let Holding go out for a fee on loan. You know, so it's huge, a lot of work to do this week, and you know, all whilst playing games, I certainly wouldn't want to be in Edu's shoes this week. But fingers crossed.
Going to be a very, very busy week. Harry, I know you've got to jump off. Just quickly, do you think Hossam Aouar and Thomas Partey are both going to be Arsenal players come the 5th of October?
No. I've said it throughout the window. I only expect one of them to come in, and I still think that's going to be the case. And
you think it's going to be Aouar over Partey?
Yeah, I think the noises we're hearing suggest that Arsenal have kind of been put off by the thing. Lee made the great point about the instalments. Partey's release clause requires that fee to be met in a one hit. The 50 million euros needs to be paid up front for that clause to be applicable. So I think that's why Arsenal have turned away from that. They probably can't go that far. They can go 35, 40 maybe. And they're probably thinking that they can persuade Leon to do the rest of the deal in installments. And he's younger as well, probably feels like a more sensible, longer term investment.
Okay. And lastly, before just a quick one, Lee Judges, what do we think?
No, I'm totally agree with Harry. I think the Partey deal is not going to happen. I think the reason it's not going to happen is because that's why El Neni's going to stay. I think that they're going to put all their eggs in one basket, go for Aouar, and look to keep El Neni as the replacement for Partey. And I do believe that, I agree with what Mark's saying, we need to make these changes. I don't think we're going to get these players out all on this window, but we've got 3 months to the next window. So I think that maybe then we could maybe go back for the Partey one if we're in a stronger position and we can get a few players out. But I think that I do think there'll be 2 players coming to the Arsenal though. I think that watch out for a little deadline deal of Zaha.
Do you know what? I'd love to see Aouar, Partey and Zaha. I'd absolutely love it, but I'm not so sure we'll get them all. But
it's going to be Aouar and Solomon Kalou.
Mate, Salomon Kalou
it
could be Jan and Villa are in the middle with instead of Partey.
Benzema's at the airport.
Oh, mate, it'll all come back in. Boys, it's been a pleasure. Harry, I know you've got to shoot off. Thank you very much, mate. Where are you off to now, and how can people watch you now?
Yeah, heading over to my channel, The Chronicles of a Gooner now, joined by Adrian Clark, who's joined us. I think this is the 3rd or 4th time now, so delighted to have him back on, and we'll be talking about the Liverpool game, some of the transfer stuff, and there's a few questions from the listeners for Adrian as well. So come find us on YouTube. We'll be live in about 5 minutes.
Brilliant stuff. Go head over to Chronicles of the Gooner. Thank you to everyone in the live chat. Thank you very much, Lee Judges and Mark as well. Boys, it's been a pleasure. Please come and join myself and Graham on Friday night. We're going to be previewing the Sheffield United game and talking a little bit about Liverpool. And, of course, hopefully, if we get through in the Cup against Liverpool on Thursday as well. So please come and join us over there on Friday evening for the same old Arsenal team talk. Until then, we will see you next time.